Well, a lot of you are talking about a new interview with the president. He spoke with HBO's Axios about the coronavirus pandemic, saying the crisis is under control. But the president and national political correspondent Jonathan Swan got into a bit of an argument over some of the statistics. So take a look.
The United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
Lower than the world?
Lower than
What is that?
Europe.
In what?
Look.
In what?
Take a look. Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad.
Well,
much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
You can't do that. You have
Why
to go,
can't I do that?
You have to go by where. Look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases. The cases.
Why
are
not
there.
as a proportion of population?
While the president is claiming the crisis is under control, many of the leading infectious disease experts disagree. Dr. Deborah Birx warns the virus is now, quote, extraordinarily widespread and worse than in March or April. Al, what do you think of the interview?
I watched it. I listened to it twice while I was getting ready this morning, and it was, quite frankly, Linz and Tori, it was just hard to understand. I've given hundreds of interviews as a comic. I've interviewed hundreds of people on the show, and it was difficult to follow. And I look, and it's strange. It made me think about being a teacher, Lindsay, because what if you came to me as the principal of my school and said, Mr. Jackson, your 35 students all are at below statewide testing level. And I said, well, Lindsay, that's because I'm giving them so many tests. That's why they're getting Fs. Let's just cut down the testing and they'll get less Fs. That's the exact same concept that we're going with. If the reason we have so many people that are reported as sick is because we're testing so much. The question is, why don't we have measures in place to make sure that the people aren't sick? That's where we should start the conversation, not the fact that we're testing a lot. We should be finding less and less cases because we should be following guidelines.
And we're going to be talking to Dr. Coley about, oh, no, we're not. We're going to be talking about that in a later show if you want to follow us online about all this. But, Linz, did it feel like somehow a bit of like an old Daily Show interview or like a mockumentary a little bit? And just the way it was even edited was like, bum, 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 ba-da-da. It felt very like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Well, you know what I'm saying?
The conversation on the barometer of who's doing worse, like why is that like something that we're touting? I don't know that we want to name other countries that are doing worse than us in handling this. I think when you look at the numbers, so like let's take Germany, for example, one of the countries that the president was citing. So they have in new cases about 1,000 a day, and we're at about 60,000 new cases a day. And I understand that we're testing probably a lot more, but it's still like we don't want to be at that number. So we shouldn't be happy that we continuously getting more people contracting the virus when we don't have a federal initiative that's making people stay inside, which is what we really need.
Yeah, and I think we just saw the obituary that says that. Gerald Butler says, wishing things away is not a plan. Wishing things away doesn't absolve the reality that this pandemic is going on.
And let me say this really quickly, Tori. I don't think the American people are stupid. I don't think the American people are, living in this pie in the sky thing where we're just going to get rid of this disease and we're going to lead the world. I think I speak for almost everybody. If it was just commensurate with where the rest of the world is proportionally, I think we'd be like, this is a bad situation. We're trying to have a realistic positive outcome. It's not going to be zero, but let's not have it be 60,000 a day.
Let's not deny reality.
Right, exactly.
And I think whether or not you like the president's message or not, I thought Jonathan Swan
this has nothing to do with him.
Right, I thought the reporter did a very nice job in getting to some of those questions you don't always get to with this president.